Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about Taxstone. We're going to talk about Troy Ave. And I want to bring up Troy Ave's favorite quote that the streets are a myth. Are the streets really a myth? Because it sounds like Taxstone himself is a snitch or a rat by his own admission. Now, this past week, or I guess this past 2 weeks, the trial has been going on, the murder trial in regards to the Irving Plaza, the shooting that took place at Irving Plaza, where one person lost their life and three people were injured. And so that trial is now ongoing. So a lot of people have been calling Troy Ave a snitch or a rat because he actually took the stand. They're saying that he's not really a street guy. And I think a lot of people who are not on Troy Ave's side, I do honestly believe a lot of people don't really like Troy Ave. He's a very cocky guy, very um boasty. I don't know. I think that's what contributes to that. However, I do agree with him on the statement that the streets is a myth because in my opinion, as the quote or the saying goes, there's no honor among thieves, and we don't have to get into that. You know what that means, right? So, I'm gonna basically talk about how Taxstone himself is or could be considered a snitch, could be considered a rat because of his own definition of what a snitch is. A lot of people have different ideas or a different definition of what a snitch is. People say, if you just talk to law enforcement, you're a snitch. If you give any information about an ongoing case, if you give any information that leads to an arrest, that's snitching. But some people have basically um, put it as simple as such. If you are involved with the crime with someone else, basically, if you're also doing things that are illegal activity, and then you get caught, and then because you get caught and you don't want to deal with the consequences of your actions, then you are basically a snitch because it has nothing to do with that other person who's, perhaps not caught yet or isn't, involved in the situation at all. So if they're telling you, hey, you're getting 20 years for this, but then the 20 years can be lessened if you give up information in regards to other people, then that's what snitching is. But I feel like with social media and all of these other outlets, it has become something else. And it has become something else because years ago, social media was not that prominent to where law enforcement now has more resources, right? They can look on your social media to gain information. People, even criminals, can look on your social media and find out information about you, your location. That's why some people, a lot of celebrities have kind of stopped or lessened how much they go online to talk about what they have, where they are. That's what led to Kevin Hart being robbed. I believe the guy that robbed Kim Kardashian did like some sort of documentary about how he was able to do that as well, how he knew where she was going to be. And I really have a lot of questions about that because I didn't understand how the guy was able to do a documentary after he done robbed her. I mean, they could have did way more to her, unfortunately, but I'm glad that they did not. But it was like, how is this guy making a documentary? He was just walking around the streets doing a documentary and talking about he was an older guy too. And kind of it seemed like he was known for doing this. And I'm like, why is he just walking around? Isn't he supposed to be in jail? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's get into Taxstone. So the first instance of I'm going to refer to right now is where Taxstone goes onto Vlad TV. And this is a video clip of him talking to Vlad addressing the situation where he called Tupac a rat. He called Tupac a rat and he called Cameron a rat. He called Cameron a rat because apparently there was some sort of shooting incident that occurred with Cameron years ago. And Cameron, in one of his songs, said, "Oh, all he know is he heard the shots and then he saw the rock sign go up or something like that." Which that's my era. Dipset, Cameron, all of them, that's my era. And I did not take that seriously. There had been a long going feud of egos between Cameron and Jay-Z, so I didn't think that was serious. I think he was making a joke. He was kind of making a joke. That's what it sounded like to me. It didn't sound like he was trying to give law enforcement any evidence. And it's so ironic because now he's in that same situation, because in his trial they are recently trying to use clips and things that he has said on his podcast to convict him. Luckily for him, that was recently ruled against. So in his podcast he said something to the effect of if a bunch of dudes attack me, like I'm not gonna talk, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna take that, I'm just gonna start shooting and asking later. So they're basically trying to utilize that, what he said during that podcast, because in that situation that happened during the in Urban Plaza is identical to what happened. He was attacked by the guys that were with Troy Ave, and as a result, supposedly he started, shooting his weapon. So the judge rules against it because there has been a lot of controversy around using artistry, like the way people express themselves, music, books, poems, and things like that against a person in a for in a serious, criminal charges. So the judge rules against it, luckily for him, but he's now um I'm basically saying that that's the same thing that he was criticizing Cameron for, right? So, if he knew that he was serious about that, he should have never said that, because now it's being used against him. But anyway, I don't think Cameron was being serious. Anyway, the really important part of this interview with Vlad is where, Taxstone goes on to define what his definition of snitching is. And so I'm kind of paraphrasing. So basically, Vlad starts out by saying, why did you consider him a rat? Referring to Tupac. So Taxstone starts off by saying, well, the conversation came up because him and another individual talking about something else, another situation, and he basically used Tupac as an example. And he's saying, listen, I'm not biased, meaning like, Tupac is a legend, Tupac is great. Well, this is what I interpret it to be. People hold Tupac and Biggie to a high standard, especially because they're not with us. But he's saying, regardless, I'm not biased. I'm gonna say how I feel. That's how I interpret what he said there. So he said, uh, he referred to Tupac, alluding to giving information on who potentially shot him in a shooting incident that injured Tupac, where Tupac mentioned Biggie and them. And then he goes on to say Tupac named names like Haitian, Jack in his raps. He named some other names as well. And so what he's saying is when you start to name names and make these, point fingers and things like that, whether even if it's inside of a song, you are contributing to an investigation or law enforcement or providing information to law enforcement, even if it's indirectly. So, so he's basically saying the information could lead to furthering an investigation. So that basically is why he considered Tupac a rat, right? So that's what he defined. This is where I'm getting my idea of what he thinks a rat is, right? But then he contradicts himself because he goes on to $1 million worth of game, and on $1 million worth of game, he the discussion comes up about himself, some sort of issue with Ebro. I think he brought Ebro up. I don't even think Gilly and Wallow. I mixed it two of their names. I don't think Gilly and Wallow wanted to talk about Ebro because it appears that at least Gilly expressed some sort of respect to Ebro. I think he has some sort of relationship with Ebro. And he said that he doesn't know why Ebro has an issue with him. He said that Ebro doesn't like him because Charlemagne helped him. And he said that let me see here. Uh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. He said that Ebro had a issue with him because Charlemagne helped him, because at first Ebro contacted him, so hey, you're talented, hey, you got something here, and I think that you should do this, like you're doing good, basically sparking that in him, and he said from there he Ebro never really did anything to help him, like besides just giving him that kind of encouragement. So as he became closer to Charlemagne, he was at an event, and that was his first time meeting Charlemagne. He went up to Charlemagne and said, hey, do you know that the dudes that beat you up, do you know that one of them has passed away? He said Charlemagne walked away from him. The following day, Angela Yee contacted Taxstone asking if that was true. So Taxstone in turn sent the article to Angela Yee, and Angela Yee said, oh, do you like, is this real? Like, is this for real? And then Taxstone basically says, my man's is the one who did it, right? He's arrested. He's in jail for it right now. So if we just went through um, what Taxstone defines a rat or a snitch to be, you are offering information about somebody else's case. I don't know if the guy, his friend, had been sentenced at that time. I have no idea. So we don't know if his friend already faced the charges. So we don't know if he faced the charges. So you don't know if your friend wants to appeal. You know, you shouldn't be mentioning a case. I feel like even if somebody got convicted, you shouldn't be openly. You don't even know if they took a deal. I mean, it's just you're doing the same thing. So to bring my point home, he continues on this podcast with $1 million worth of game. He continues talking to Gilly and Wallow about this whole situation with Charlemagne and Ebro, and how he didn't really know that the beef or the issue between the radio shows were serious. He was like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know this was real, because I guess he's trying to say, I didn't know these kind of people who are in, kind of high paying or high jobs, or, very public. I think that's what he's trying to say, that I didn't know they were, really quote unquote beefing, because he probably doesn't see them as people who are in the streets. So he said, oh, I got to stay away from them, because I found out that Funk Master Flex, who's on the opposing radio show, I think Hot 97, that he is the one who paid for those guys to beat Charlemagne up. Now, I used to watch Breakfast Club a lot. I've never heard Charlemagne actually say, this is who did it. I've heard a lot of people around Charlemagne say things. I've heard stories that it was Little Kim. I've heard stories that it was Busta. I heard so many different stories. This is the first that I've heard that it was Funk Master Flex. And also, I feel like that Charlemagne and Taxstone started to create some sort of rapport, some sort of friendship. So I feel like he's saying that directly through Charlemagne. So I feel like Charlemagne has never directly came out. I don't think Charlemagne has ever pursued criminal charges. He may have maybe reported it to his job, maybe, but I don't think he had like criminal charges up against Funk Master Flex. So back to his point of pointing the elbow, as he said on Vlad TV, at somebody in regards to a crime. No, Funk Master Flex has never been brought up on criminal charges about this. But if he ever does, because law enforcement doesn't necessarily need for the victim directly, they can bring charges up on you from things that are said on social media, and because that's how Tory Lanez got charged. So it doesn't have to be Charlemagne going and making the police report. I think if Charlemagne did, I think Funkmaster Flex, you would have heard about that already. But I think Charlemagne is just like gossiping like around with the people who off the show, and telling people that. And I feel like he did tell Taxstone that, and I feel like that's why Taxstone repeated that. And I feel like that is snitching. By your definition, that's snitching. By your own admission, that's snitching. Because if you're saying that people shouldn't be talking about crimes, giving information, whether it be through songs, and now in this day and age, that includes social media heavily. People have gotten fired from jobs for their presence on social media, for presenting stuff or saying things on social media, or maybe even calling off of work, and then your boss or your company can see you on line, partying or whatever the case is, or just posting things that don't represent the company correctly. And if you work for that company, they have the right to fire you. So Taxstone, I believe, everybody is coming up against Troy Ave, being highly critical of him. However, Taxstone, you have given us information about several crimes. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, when Taxstone started to create, there was a buzz about Taxstone. He did an interview with Vlad TV, and I don't think I watched the full interview. I watched clips because it was like over an hour, but there were certain interesting topics, uh, subjects. Like for one, he talked about one of the videos were titled "Being a Pimp at 15." When you open the video, when you listen to the video, he gave three different ages. He said 13, he said 14, and then I think at some point he did say 15. I don't know what age it was, but I guess he was just given an idea of how young he was. And he said that was the age that he was doing this. Very much, a child. So, I mean, I don't really have too much to say about it. I'm not really happy about it, of course. That's definitely unfortunate for the young girls and for him, because they're all kids. However, even in that video, he was naming names and basically talking about crimes. And I understood that he was talking about his past, and he was also highlighting how he also did not like what he did, and how, why it was not a good thing, and just basically talking about progress, which is great. However, I feel like Taxstone is definitely a huge contradiction, because even though he talks about respecting women, and that's the one of the reasons why he didn't want to do it as well, Taxstone is also the same guy who talked about in another video clip, talked about how he lost sight in one of his eyes. So one of his eyes, I think he said it's a glass eye or something like that. He doesn't have sight in one of his eyes because he was shot in the eye. And he was shot in the eye because there was a long-standing feud between him and someone who used to be friends. The person came to him and told him, or the young man came to him and told him that another group of guys were planning to do something to him. And he took that as, he looked at that person as also opposition, because he said that, you're hanging with those people. So he would do things to the person, like not steal, but take things from him. I forgot what he said he took, but he took something from the guy. The guy, I guess, reported it to his mother and came and said, hey, give it back to me. And he was kind of saying, like, you're a gangster. So if I took something from you, why would you go tell your mother? So I guess from my interpretation of that, that means that you want this guy to engage in violence with you. Now, if I could intervene in there, I don't know. I think that's taking it too far. You're both two young boys. The boy is someone who lives in your neighborhood, And also, you consider this person to be a friend at some point. So if you're both young boys, no, I don't think that it should be taken to the point of escalating matters. And that's the problem here as to why every single situation that Taxstone has been goes too far. And I think I said this in the last video, but I would definitely he has talked about his childhood, but he hasn't talked about his upbringing, who's in the house, if there's anyone in his house, because I really feel like there's something lacking there. I don't know what it is. But anyway, he said he took something from the guy. Then after that, it was just a back and forth where he would continuously see the guy and disrespect him. There was another instance where the guy was standing at a bus stop with his girlfriend, and he goes up to the guy, grabs the guy's behind, then goes and tongue kisses the guy's girlfriend. And um, a portion of what it's supposed to mean to be a street guy is that these young men are doing illegal activity. However, they have respect. This is from what I know to be, and this is what I think people like Gilly the Kid represent, um, Casanova. Um, this is what I thought that being this street tough guy is supposed to be. Even if they're doing this illegal activity, women and children are to be respected, valued. Victims or citizens or people who are not doing illegal activity are still supposed to be cherished, respected, regarded because they didn't ask for that, right? So for him to go up to a young girl and kiss them, that's SA, that's sexual assault. So I was just disgusted by that. And again, you know, he's there talking about a crime. I mean, he was telling on his own self in that scenario. But it's just I just feel like there's just a picking and a choosing of which principles you want to abide by when it comes to being this street figure. And you get so lost, a young person will get so lost on the rabbit hole that by the time you catch yourself, you're sticking to principles that, first of all, everyone else is not sticking to or upholding. And then not only that, it really is no rules. And it just goes back to I just really have to heavily agree with Choyat when he says, you know, the streets is a myth. Because you know that's not what a street guy would do. They wouldn't or they shouldn't disrespect a girl like that, you know, or a child or you know anyone out the way. But that was crazy, and I found a lot of similarities between the issue that he had because he continuously bullied this guy, and he was actually going somewhere. He was in a car going somewhere, he said, and on another occasion, he hopped out of the car and he saw the guy going into his building. He turned back. He got out of the car and went back because he wanted to go slap the guy. So he went back to slap the guy, not knowing that the guy had a weapon on him. So the guy turned around and shot him. And I guess the shot is what caused the damage or the loss of his eye. He said he did not end up spending as much time as he would have for the incident because there were other victims, and the other victims did not testify against him. And when in this video he alluded to the victims knowing who he was, respecting him, or and I don't very much know if it was a respect thing. Maybe these people were afraid for their life, that if they did this, maybe there would be some sort of retaliation. Um, so those people did not testify against him. He said a little girl got shot and also a lady got shot. And the lady is somebody it's another boy that he knows, their mother. So I want to definitely show the similarities in this situation with Troy Ave. 3 other people got injured. The person that passed away was involved in the altercation that occurred, but the other 3 people were victims. One of the victims was Mano's girlfriend. There were 2 other victims. I'm not really familiar. I know there was a man that was shot in the abdomen and had to go through a lot, as a result. And so I don't know if those shots came from Taxstone or when Troy Ave was, retaliating or shooting back. But yeah. So let me know what you guys think that, here is Taxstone. You can check both of these videos out. Here is Taxstone giving you the definition of what a snitch is and then actually snitching, providing information on criminal activity. Is that not snitching? So let me know what you guys feel. Like, comment, subscribe. Me, myself, I'm befuddled. I'm befuddled, beloved, because you're contradicting yourself. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think.